Hello YouTube, it's Birdo Prey 5 again, and this time I will try to shut off the sound before it feeds back into the video. Hello Thomas, can you hear me? He hears me. Terrific. Happy Sunday, Thomas. I wasn't sure if you were going to be here to be honest about it. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to show up. Watched Anti-Tracker's stream this morning. Seemed like notifications never went out for his video. I watched a Trek Yard stream this morning too from last night or sometime yesterday. It seems like he didn't have notifications go out either. Captain Foley and his wife could barely get 10 people to a live stream. That was nuts. If he's only gonna get 10 people, oh man, it's a tough weekend, I tell ya. Looks like a ghost behind you. Yeah, there's a little ghost behind me. It's Casper. He's saying hello, telling me I'm doing a good job. No, it's actually a pillow that's behind me. Before I started, it was perfect. It wasn't. It was being easily blocked by the software. There we go. And then, of course, as soon as I started, it showed back up. Thomas says, I got a notification for Foley about 30 minutes after his stream ended. I still haven't gotten an Anti-Tracker stream notification. Yeah, and Anti-Trackers was weird. Not only did it not get a notification, but it didn't even show up on the, like YouTube has an RSS feed of every channel. So the forum, antitracker.com, didn't even pick up the fact he was live. I had to go find a link to his old stream and paste it in myself this morning. So like YouTube has no recollection or no records, it would seem, of him ever going live yesterday. In fact, he said during the beginning of his stream that he something about going live 3 different times, trying to get YouTube to send out the notifications. And man, it took a while before people started showing up. You can plan ahead. You could be a fairly big channel like Anti-Tracker. I mean, compared to me, you could have an amazing show prepared, and then you go live and YouTube just won't cooperate for some reason. That is a sad and scary proposition, but all the more reason that we have the Discord and the forum, and for now his Patreon, that he could get the message out to at least the people most likely to be on the live stream anyway. We're probably the people most active in the forums and on Discord and getting his Patreon emails anyway. Have some way of getting the message out, the word out, because if you rely only on YouTube, if there's anything we've learned by now, it's that you're going to get burned. Oh. Well, it says we've got 3 people watching. I figure I'm one of them. You're 2, Thomas. So someone else is being quiet. That's fine. Doesn't have to. Nobody needs to talk. I wanted to talk today about Sedona, Arizona. For those of you who don't know Sedona, uh, or its town very close to the neighbors to the south, Oak Creek, Arizona, which is actually the picture behind me, is Bell Rock, and it's technically from Oak Creek, but like I said, it borders Sedona, and most people would just consider it part of Sedona, Arizona. Um, the entire area is called uh, Red Rock Country, or sometimes Red Rock County. I know I read those words wrong sometimes, but whether it's Red Rock County, it's not technically Red Rock County, but I think they just call it Red Rock Country because most of the landscape is that beautiful shade of kind of dark red orange color that you see behind me. There are tons and tons of different mountains, boulders, different shapes, and you don't have any sense of the scale of Bell Rock behind me. And I used to go to Sedona at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. And even I would forget just how big it was until I started walking towards it. And as you get closer and closer to it, if you see, there are some pictures I have. I didn't get them ready tonight, but there are pictures where there are other people in the picture. And you see, they just look like, at this scale, they would look like tiny ants compared to the size of that rock. That is a pretty significant sized rock. And the saying that I used as the title for this video, they say God created the Grand Canyon, but he lives in Sedona. That's a legit saying people of Sedona say. The first time I was there was in August of 2000. I don't remember having ever heard about it, although years later I would find, because I did go to Arizona with my family as a kid, like as a 8-year-old or something. Years later, like I was already in my 20s, years after I had gone there for the first time, I found mom had kept a whole bunch of old, like, schoolwork and things we did as children. And in that box was a postcard, a few postcards I had bought while we were in Arizona the first time. And sure enough, one of the postcards was actually from, it said Sedona, Arizona, and it had a picture of the red rocks on it. I had no recollection that I ever bought that postcard, but I must have when I was like 8 years old. Just something about it was really interesting to me. So I was there. I was still, I think it was either still in college. Yeah, I was still in college. I had like one class left, and I was in a professional engineering fraternity. It was co-ed fraternity because we're professionals. And we were having the national conference that year in Phoenix. Now, I had gone as the official representative of the chapter the year before. So it's called the delegate. The delegate, that was my official title. And as delegate, you actually get your trip paid for, mostly. And then they also send an alternate in case the delegate gets sick. So I had already done it, and that year I did it was actually in Iowa. But it's still better. The more people you send, the better your chapter looks. And I really wanted to go to Arizona. I hadn't been there in a long, long time. And I went with a couple other friends who we all decided to go out there. And even though we were staying in Phoenix, we really wanted to go up and see the Grand Canyon, and we figured we'd just make a day trip out of it. Now, for those who don't know, the Grand Canyon is at least a 6-hour drive from Phoenix one way. But you know, when you're young and in college, you don't let things like that stop you from trying to do them. So we tried. Now, before we left the hotel, we asked, we told them what we were planning on doing, and did they have any suggestions. And they said, listen, yeah, if you want, you should try to hit the town of Sedona. It's a beautiful town. It's on the way. They gave us the directions. They said if you happen to get there for sunrise or sunset, it's especially beautiful. Well, we already was after sunrise, so we hit Sedona just before noon, and it was actually August 2000. It was just on the brink of a building boom. I remember we pulled over into a parking lot that was half under construction. It was going to be a shopping center. And there was like only one building done yet. Like we got gas. And looking around, you could just tell that like the properties were under construction anywhere you looked. But it was a cool little town. And Bell Rock, which is the picture behind me, is really the first thing you see as you're driving down the road towards Sedona. And right next to Bell Rock is called Courthouse Butte. It's another beautiful natural mountain there. And as you go further up the road through Oak Creek and into Sedona proper, there's lots and lots of other red rock formations. There is a road called Nibbly Hill Road, which if you take it, it's not a paved road. It's like a Forest Service road. The pavement ends very early on. It's not open year-round. They close it in bad weather and different parts of the year. But if you have an SUV or even a car with decent clearance and decent, maybe all-wheel drive or something, it is one of the most beautiful drives you can possibly take. In the continental U.S., it is certainly the most beautiful drive I've been on. And depending which way you start, whether you start in the town of Sedona or you start off Interstate I-17, at Interstate I-17, you're in the mountains, and it's all pine trees. Pine trees, mud roads, um, ponds, and forest creatures. And as you get closer to the town of Sedona city, technically now the city of Sedona, uh, it changes from a pine forest, pine trees and forest and mud, to red rocks and like a canyon next to you, a gorge, beautiful red rock formations, and then you're driving on a ledge on your left side, is just like a cut out wall of rock that pieces of rock fall off of every so often, and occasionally you'll get some trees and some grasslands will come towards you. Driving, like, I literally didn't realize just how close I was to, like, I looked over and I didn't see anything, but I kept looking, and all of a sudden, like, 5 or 6 deer were just frozen there waiting for me to move. And they were so close. They were just making their way through this like wooded land to my side, and then halfway down the road, it's just a sheer rock cliff, almost something out of the Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons. And one side is just obviously a wall, and then the other side is just a cliff that you obviously don't want to go over, because there's nothing that's going to stop you from having a very, very bad day, except your own ability not to drive off the cliff. But it is so beautiful, and you're like coming out of the mountains. You're coming out of the mountains and you're kind of descending into Sedona, almost like you're an airplane. It's really weird, but it is solidly the most beautiful drive I think you can be in a any SUV more or less could do it, and even some cars with decent ground clearance. If it's rainy, you've got to worry about mud in the beginning at the dirt by the highway, and no matter the weather, you do have to worry about rocks on the road, and that's where you really need the ground clearance, is closer to the Sedona side, because there could just be rocks sticking up out of the ground, and if you have a low riding car, you have no hope of crossing them without damaging your car. But even a stock Grand Cherokee that I rented, I used to rent from, I think, Enterprise or Dollar out of Phoenix. They had no trouble on those roads. You weren't technically supposed to take them off highway, but who cared? I did, That was the whole point. Why would you rent a Jeep if you weren't going to use it as a Jeep? But yeah, so besides the beautiful looks to it, Sedona is very much a kind of new age arts community. I mean, a lot of shops are just people selling artwork and Native American designs, and it's very much a touristy town. People try to sell you on Sedona, which is not my favorite part of it by any means. But Sedona is also known. Now, this was unknown to me the first time I went there, but it's known to have vortexes. Uh, People believe that there are special points on the earth with the magnetic field or whatever of the earth, that there are vortexes that have these certain powers, and they could be powers that bring people together or push people apart, depending on if the people are complementary or opposite each other. There's a healing vortex. There's all these different vortexes, and there happens to be like 3 or 4 in Sedona, which is a very high concentration of vortexes. And you get a lot of new age thing. And I totally, it's not something I specifically believed in. And I still wouldn't say I believe in it. But man, after that first visit to Sedona, I was literally, months later, I felt like Sedona was calling me back. And it was weird. It was just like I would talk to my friend who I went with, and they also kind of felt something, but I had no idea, about any of this vortex or this powers or this whole mystical, supernatural side to Sedona. To us, it was just a beautiful place that we ended up. In fact, we never went to the Grand Canyon. It was just so nice. We stayed there and went back down to Phoenix and left the Grand Canyon for another trip. But when I started looking more into Sedona, because I was getting this feeling that I had to go back, that's when I started reading up about all these strange things, this strange phenomenon, these vortexes, and that lots of people had feelings like I was having, but they went there expecting to have those things, and then they had them. For me, it was like I had no idea any of this was going to happen. So I had to actually put some faith in what these people were saying, even though I felt like my logical side of it said it's nonsense. But the part of me that was there and experienced it, I have no explanation, no scientific, no logical explanation. But later on, reading all these things about vortexes and their powers, I don't know that I say it's real, but man, it makes so much sense, and it hit a lot of what I felt right on the nose. And some things that happened afterwards, it just it's really hard to explain. It's almost spooky. I really suggest anyone, if you're physically able, if you have some vacation time saved up and some money and you're not sure where you want to go on vacation, if you just, whether you can make a weekend out of it or a week out of it, if you've never been there, I cannot more strongly, highly suggest you take a trip out to Sedona, Arizona. Now, your best bet is to fly into Phoenix and get a rental car. It's about 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on traffic and how fast you're willing to speed, to get from Phoenix to Sedona. Now, if you're not used to changes in elevation, uh, warning, if you only drive the East Coast up and down, you're not going to be prepared for coming up and down mountains, where you're going to be told to shut off your air conditioning because your car or truck is literally going to start overheating, because of how tough it has to go to climb up the highway, because it's at such an incline. And you're probably not going to be used to seeing runaway truck lanes for emergencies for tractor trailers, that if their brakes go out, they literally have to turn off onto these emergency runaway lanes and hope to God that the incline stops them before they go over the edge. So yes, it is a different kind of drive than you will ever find on the East Coast. You are going up and down and up again through mountain ranges, through elevation changes. It is some of the most beautiful driving, in my opinion. You go through what's called the Verde Valley, which, if you have any idea what Spanish means, verde means green, because a river literally runs through the desert. And there is some beautiful, beautiful greenery. If you happen to go in the autumn, the leaves are, as the leaves change colors, it's even more beautiful. If you have time to spend and you head up through Phoenix, there's actually a casino you could stop at, not far from Sedona. You could spend a night there or whatever you wanted to do. It's on the way. There's Montezuma's Castle National Monument, basically on the way. It's it's a half a day trip. It's an interesting place to visit. But you could spend days in Sedona if you enjoy hiking, if you enjoy off-roading, even if you don't have an off-road capable vehicle of your own. There are Jeep tours. You can hire Jeeps and Hummers that will take you around on a guided tour. Now, there's a small airport in Sedona, but it's not a commercial airport. You can't get a commercial flight to Sedona. The closest airport to Sedona you can get a commercial flight to is Flagstaff. Flagstaff is about 30 miles north of Sedona. And I strongly recommend that you do drive from Sedona to Flagstaff and back, because you will go up what's called Oak Creek Canyon. And Oak Creek Canyon is just another beautiful, it is the type of road where the switchbacks, as you go up the mountain and you're going back and forth, the type of road you only see if you're on the East Coast. If you're West Coast people, Southern California, I'm sure Colorado, Western people see roads like this all the time. Those of us on the East Coast, not nearly as much. It's the type of road you'd see in car commercials, but the most beautiful views you could imagine. And yeah, so you could head up to Flagstaff and head back, and that drive alone is, it's all paved road, but it is quite the elevation change. And it is another beautiful drive. You could make a day out of it. You could go head up to Flagstaff and do something up there, and then come back. Um, so yeah, there's plenty to do. Um, there's resorts. I mean, if you just want to go up to a resort and be pampered for a few days, you can do that. If you want to play golf, you can do that. I'm personally not a resort person. I'm not a golf person. I used to just go and hike and drive. That's what I like to do. And explore. Just drive around. I mean, you can drive out to, it's not terribly far, but there's a town called Jerome, Arizona, and it is high up on a mountain. Um, it's crazy. You'd have to, I mean, you can look up pictures, but Jerome, Arizona, you basically just driving up a mountain, and like the whole town is at the top of this mountain, and like each level of each street is like 20 feet lower than the street next to it. So like the stores are all on steps going up, like between the front of the store and the back of the store. It's a 20-foot difference in elevation. So yeah, it's a crazy little town, but beautiful area. The cottonwood trees. Um, Prescott, Arizona isn't terribly far, and but you could do this all out of Sedona. And let me tell you, once you get into Sedona or Oak Creek, I used to stay in Oak Creek. There was a cheap motel called the Wildflower Inn. Um, God knows what was going on there. I don't know, but it was a decent price. It was a motel. The rooms were decent. That was all I really cared about. Some had fireplaces, so that was cool. Some had hot tubs, but you know, hotel hot tub, little sketchy. Motel, even not even hotel. Um, so yeah, but that was a decent place, and literally you'd walk out the door, and you'd be looking at Bell Rock, which is what's behind me, and again Courthouse Butte to the other side. So that was where I wanted to be, and I went multiple times a year. Once I went because there were forest fires all around, and even though I really couldn't do much to help, I just wanted to be there. And it was amazing seeing the fires in the distance, like you're staying in town and you're looking up at the mountains and there's just flames. The whole mountain is got a line of orange flames at night, and constantly firefighting planes and helicopters are dropping stuff on it, and the whole town had signs out, "Thank you, firefighters," because they really didn't know if the flames were going to come through town. It was conceivable they could have. They were lucky they didn't. They stopped well short of town. But man, when you can look out your window and you see the flames with the naked eye in the distance, but not that far away, it worries you. It worries you. So yeah, I miss Sedona. If I could live anywhere, I mean, the problem was when I had the money, I couldn't move to Sedona because my job wouldn't let me. Um, now that I don't have the job, I don't have the money to move out there, and the reality is now I need medical help that I probably just couldn't get in Sedona. But when I get better, if I have time and money and the family situation is decent, I would love to get back out to Sedona, possibly move there. No, that's my Sedona spiel. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And yes, I'm way behind, I'm sure, on comments. So let me go back and see where we are. Not terrible. My cousin Jason Dibs. Hello, Jason. Not sure if you're still here. I see it was 25 minutes ago you posted. Started talking about Sedona. Wasn't looking at the comments. Sorry, Jason. If you're still here, I'll talk to you in a few minutes. Sci-Fi Guy, Qapla, Sci-Fi Guy. Welcome to the stream. Luke Favark. Hello, Luke. Transporters are killing machines. Starfleet officers are mere shadows of themselves, imperfect copies. I can neither confirm nor deny that, Luke. I think it is worth further study. Derek, welcome, Derek. Evening all. Hope everyone is well. Dib says, just stopping by to show some support. What's today's topic? Well, if you didn't notice, today's topic is Sedona, Arizona. Mr. Miles, welcome, Mr. Miles. He says, BS, Bird of Prey was never young. Fake news. Oh, I was young, Mr. Miles. I know it's hard to believe. We were all young. Thomas Potts says, Alexa, cancel. Cancel. He says, her name, set daily alarm for 3 a.m. Yeah, no, wasn't going to say it. Dib says, I'm the third. Jesse, ring quiet because I can't type very well. Joella is in my arms. Ah, that's so sweet. Joella's his new baby. Luke says, Alexa, do it. Mr. Miles says, coming out of the mountains. Luke says, always worried about mud. Yeah. Funny story, I watched the two original series episodes today, Mud's Women and I Mud, just to re-familiarize myself in case there was anything I had forgotten about them, so that I could give more accurate review or commentary on the Star Trek Discovery version of Mud. And yeah, after watching it, those episodes, there was just no way they're the same people. Mud was not a cold-blooded killer. Even in Mud's Women, where he was going to leave the Enterprise crew stranded for the rest of their lives, he was literally leaving them stranded on a pleasure planet where you could get anything you wanted. Scotty was amazed. He he would have retired there if he had the opportunity. It had all the things he could imagine. Bones was in love with the lab equipment. He would have retired there if he could. Uhura was taken by the prospect of getting an android body and having eternal youth. All of the Chekhov said it was better than Leningrad. He was quite happy with how he was being treated, waited on hand and foot. That was not... Mud didn't leave them to die. He left them on a planet literally where all their wishes could be fulfilled. Yes, it was a cage of sorts because you couldn't leave technically, but we should all be so lucky that somebody kidnaps us and brings us to a place where all of our wishes can come true. Okay, so he's not a cold-blooded killer. At his absolute worst, he was just going to strand people, and by all logic, they probably would have found their way off regardless, even if he didn't tell anyone where to find them. Yeah, he's a con man for sure, but he is not a killer. I don't think he could even hold a phaser to shoot someone. I think he's frankly too much of a wimp, too much of a coward. At least the one we saw in TOS. There is no way he could do what he did in Discovery, either in the Klingon prison, or or the episode where he came and took over Discovery in a space whale, which, just to point out, if we take Discovery as canon, then he was on Star Trek. He was on the Discovery. He knew about the spore drive, and yet in TOS, which we know is like 10 years later, he specifically says that the Enterprise is the fastest ship in the fleet. So that would be an admission, and he'd be one of the few people that we can say with certainty knows about the spore drive on Discovery, and he still is saying 10 years later that the Enterprise is the most advanced and the fastest ship in the fleet. So does he know Discovery was destroyed somehow? Does he know that the spore drive system is no longer possible? No, we know it's just bad writing. That's what we know. But if you try to force it into canon somehow, there's no way to do it. It's just not possible. And this would have been so much easier. They still could have had the tie-in to Harry Mudd, but 100% they could have solved all the issues had they just had one throwaway line that the Mudd we saw in Star Trek Discovery wasn't Harry Mudd, but Jonathan Mudd or Tommy Mudd, Harry Mudd's brother or his uncle or his cousin, and It could have been a throwaway line like, uh, I'm confident my brother Harry will break me out soon enough, or something. He's a he's a very respected entrepreneur, something to that effect. And sure, then you could say that this guy's his brother, or his cousin, or some family member, and you'll find, okay, it hits the it hits the the feeling of the past. It tugs at your strings because you feel like you know the guy even though you don't know the guy, and this guy could be more capable of violence than Harry Mudd ever was, but you still feel like you have some, the man, the family, something about him. So one line, they could have fixed it all, but no, they had to get Harry Mudd. And yeah, but after watching them both, it totally makes Thomas's theory that it takes place after the events of I Mudd so much more likely, because they left Mudd on the planet with the androids, and Harry Mudd already watched Spock and Kirk overpower the androids with illogical behavior and escape more or less once. So it seems to me like it would only be a matter of time before he figured out a way to have the androids once again do his bidding. And he, after a few years or so on that planet, he could have picked up the ability on how to make androids. They certainly were human looking, realistic enough. The only problem, which Thomas points out, the only problem with that theory is that the ship that picked him up, or to say, picked up his android duplicate, seemed to be a Discovery era ship. Had they had TOS uniforms, that would have made all the difference. That is 100% the way it should have been. Of course, the other problem was that in Mudd's Women, the first Mudd episode, they very clearly show on the screen Mudd's criminal record, and there's absolutely nothing about cases of attempted murder or penetrating a space whale. It's just some buying a spaceship with a counterfeit currency, and some other charges that I think were dismissed or something, and he was sentenced to psychiatric treatment. That was it. So unless his other crimes were physically expunged from the record, which they wouldn't be if it happened after I Mudd, there's really no way to reconcile his Discovery criminal record with his TOS criminal record. It would just make so much more sense for it to be a different person. Luke Favark said to Mr. Miles, indeed. Chief Engineer Mr. Miles says you should rent an airplane and only drive it. Yeah, drive an airplane. That sounds like a great idea. Mr. Miles says, if you rent a plane and only drive it around, Ryan Johnson would be so proud because you're subverting expectations. Waypoints. Darth Raven. Hello, Darth. Welcome to the stream. Oh, we're up to 10 people now. I won't see who they are for another 10 to 15 minutes until I get through the comments, but I'm glad we've got a little group here. Darth says to Mr. Miles, I see you got the rank you were missing. Mr. Miles says, what rank? And Darth Raven says, cadet. Mr. Miles asks, can he have a second wrench? Let's see, Mr. Miles, I could take away your wrench for a while and then give it back to you. Is that what you want? I'll do that. So, okay, your wrench is now gone. And now I will give it back to you. So there you go, second wrench. The newest wrench on the channel. Luke Favaric says, encounter with third type. Darth says, do you believe in reincarnation? Maybe your past life was from Sedona. Triggers Luke. You know, I have some belief in reincarnation. It's possible it was from Sedona. It's whatever it is, it certainly makes me content. So, yeah. Mr. Miles says, ley lines are the words you were thinking of earlier. Yes, ley lines and vortexes. And Mr. Miles says, ley lines are BS, by the way. Luke is saying he's having an encounter with a transgender person. Okay, Luke, I'd say keep it clean, whatever. You're an adult. You can have all the encounters you want. As long as it's consenting, go right ahead. Darth says to Luke, once you go trans, you never go back. Well, I wouldn't know. Mr. Miles, I'm physically able but not mentally. Can I still go? Derek says, I'm triggered in an SJW earlier on another forum by calling Holdo Admiral Gender Studies. Holdo Admiral Gender Studies. Oh, he triggered an SJW earlier. Luke was transgender warp. They drive from the Picard's, the new drive from the Picard series. Oh, God. Derek, did you know there's an SJW that likes to hang out on Anti-Tracker's stream and Discord sometimes? It's a surprise. It surprised to hell out of me. Luke says, oh, really? And Darth is asking, who is it? And Luke is saying, not Don Juan. That guy is just a troll. Derek says, all are welcome, but why would they want to? And Thomas retracted a message. Darth says to Mr. Miles, but I bet his French guy called Luke or the Irish guy called Derek something, and then they are massive SJWs. Thomas says, did the person have a pony avatar? Luke says Derek is not an SJW. He's a QFW. I don't know. Derek says, hey, SJWs need to feel the love too. Darth asks me, We have magic roads here. If you park your car and take off the brake, it rolls backwards. Well, Darth, there's a lot of roads where if you shut off the brake, it rolls backwards. But I believe what you're saying is that the road looks like you're going uphill. You're rolling uphill. I've heard of roads like that where the roads just have this particular look about them that really throws off your brain, and it appears to be rolling uphill, but as much as it looks uphill, somehow it's actually downhill. I have never seen the effect in person, but I could imagine it must exist. But man, yeah, that would freak me out. Queen Elizabeth Warrior. Oh, QEW. Okay. That's called a hill, Darth. Yes, well, I know what he meant. It's not caused by magnetism, Darth. It's caused by a trick of the eye. Mr. Miles says, Darth, no, it's not. Darth says, Mr. Miles, is it Captain Redneck? Is Captain Redneck the undercover social justice warrior that's infiltrated Anti-Tracker's stream? That might have to go in the news. It's a name I can't pronounce. And Mr. Miles just says he's being serious. It really is an SJW. Well, they do exist, Mr. Miles. They're not like leprechauns. And I lost the stream. Be right back, guys. We will check if there's any social justice warriors on the stream right now. They will not be able to control themselves if there are. Well, East Coast girls are hip. I really dig those styles they wear. And the Southern girls with the way they talk, they knock me out when I'm down there. The Midwest farmers' daughters really make you feel all right. And the Northern girls with the way they kiss, they keep their boyfriends warm at night. I wish they all could be California. I wish they all could be California. I wish they all could be California girls. The West Coast has the sunshine and the girls all get so tan. I dig a French bikini on a wild island all by a palm tree in the sand. I've been all around this great big world and I see all kinds of girls. Yeah, but I can't wait to get back in the States, back to the cutest girls in the world. I wish they all could be California. I wish they all could be California. I wish they all could be California girls. Sorry about that. We're back. Okay. Not caused by magnetism. Nah, skip ahead a little. Luke says, let me guess, he told you about Trump. Mr. Miles says, I think someone is trying to suffocate the mountain with a giant pillow. No, there's no suffocating a mountain. Darth says, Mr. Miles, chief engineer, when was the last time you saw Larry? Mr. Miles says, Luke, it was about using the F word in any way. Not the F word, but the gay F word. He thinks use of the word in any is hateful to gay people. The very fact is that in the UK, in England, the word is used all the time as a almost as a synonym, a word for cigarettes. What's that called? Street lingo. You know what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. Yeah, it's used for cigarettes. So, certainly there's no hate for gays. Probably none here for half the time it's used, but a lot harder to prove. And Darth Raven, yes, says that's what we call smokes. It's turned into policing speech. And then he says Darth says that's why he left the channel. Left Anti-Tracker's channel. Mr. Miles is one reason, yes. That sparked it. Alex, hello Alex, welcome to the stream. I think TNG proves they are killing machines. 2 Rikers. Neither are original. A universe full of copies. Ah, yes, the transporters, yes. Darth says that an Amazon device with a female name should call mom. Yeah, that might actually cause her cell phone to start ringing. Alex says, I look forward to your response in half an hour. Yeah, I mean, certainly if the transporter is not duplicating people and it is somehow using the original energy to recreate the original matter of the person, then you would think the accident that created a perfect double of Commander Riker, at the time Lieutenant Riker, whatever he was, whatever caused William and Thomas Riker to be created, shouldn't have happened, and some type of alarm should have gone off where the transporter chief would have noted that, hey, we lost half of the original man in the matter stream or something, and that we had to use extra energy from the replicators or something to make up the half of person. I mean, we know what he was supposed to look like. We know what we scanned, but we had to use energy from somewhere else to make the matter, to make him. And I would assume that never happened. So I would say that they don't check for that. And if they don't check for that, it probably means because they know damn well that whatever they're beaming up is not the original. And it is just a perfect copy. And so you have to say it's more of a moral, ethical thing. Is a 100% perfect copy down to the quantum states of the atoms? Is it a copy, or is it just as good as the original? That's probably not a question for science, but a question for philosophers. Certainly, we don't see any behavioral changes after beaming. There's no, there doesn't seem to be any difference in who people are. So, if the person had a soul before they were transported, I would say it seems like they still have one after transport. And if they don't have one, then if anything, it's kind of proof you don't need a soul to live. And if you don't need a soul to live, then doesn't that kind of ruin the entire logic of why we would have a soul to begin with? So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. There's a whole rabbit hole of moral and ethical issues if we wanted to go down that road, which we could do. I mean, I'm not against it. Oh, excuse me, guys. Mr. Miles says, we can legally make a show called... Could we legally make a show called Star Trek? I don't know, Mr. Miles. Why don't you try and let us know how it goes? Luke says, hey, 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 Team Europe is near completion. Tarth says, Alexa. No, Alexa. Cancel. Says her name. Order stripper. I'm pretty sure she does not have that ability. Derek says paint stripper. Alex says Alex industrial paint remover ordered through Amazon. Oh, paint stripper. Yes, industrial paint remover. I get it. You know, I tried to buy some of that stuff once when I was trying to repaint my cabinets in the basement kitchen when I first bought the house. Man, it stunk like crazy. It didn't work, and we ended up ripping everything out and just starting fresh. Mr. Miles says, and I agree, Bird of Prey, mud was never evil until STD. Alex says they are all transcription errors. Mr. Miles says he was a crook at worst, not a killer. A snake oil salesman. Luke says, which shows how right were characters afraid of transporters. Derek says HW Harry Mudd. HW penetrated a space whale. I don't know who HW is. Alex says, I'm worried about the cloud of steam coming from Bird of Prey 5's neck. I fear he has sprung a leak. Yeah, I guess that could be steam, it could be smoke. Let's see if we can get that. That's not so bad. He said Star Trek, not Star Trek. I probably said both, Mr. Miles. Wood. Woo, I'm so proud. Luke says to me, don't try to explain away or put together things that would make sense with STD. It never works. You are correct. Luke says you can't consolate two different universes. It's a parallel track. Mr. Miles says to me, actually, that's a good point. If STD tech is supposed to be hush hush, why isn't mud considered a security leak in TOS? Because, Mr. Miles, terrible writing. It's just terrible writing. There is no way to reconcile it. There's no reason to go through the motions of attempting to reconcile it. We all know nobody thought ahead. We should force the writers of STD into a canon and then fire it. Ha. DJ Odyssey, Qapla, DJ Odyssey. When you read this, it is now 7:12 p.m. and it's now 7:38 p.m. Wow, I am falling further behind than when I started. And he says hello to everyone. Mr. Miles says, oh wait, can have him hit his head by the end of STD, change his personality. He's a lovable bad guy and made him forget STD. And then I guess they could also expunge his record, because if he doesn't remember the crimes, clearly he's not guilty of them in Federation law, I'm sure. Maybe an alien gives him a new personality, so Michael Burnham acts as his personal defender and gets him acquitted of all charges and gets the charges removed from his record so that he can start his life again in peace. Luke says, stop trying to do the things they don't need. None of Discovery episodes work. Mud is pansexual. Oof. Well, yeah, I guess he was. I think he clearly had relations with those androids. So I guess that would technically make him pansexual. Mr. Miles says, oh wait, they can have him hit his head. Yes, that's what I just read. DJ Odyssey says disco is just plain horrible and has screwed it all up. Yeah, that's how. That is a fair summary of where we are. Luke says it's not Star Trek, it's Suck Trek, a parallel universe track that sucks. DJ says there was 14 when I first came in. Really? 14 people? I'm 12 now. We're growing. We've got a growing audience. Ever since I started advertising Anti-Tracker's channel, he has been growing tremendously. I think he owes me. I mean, he definitely mentions me quite a lot, which is I'm thankful for. But I mean, his channel was pretty steady there for a long time. And then when I started live streaming, he started growing again. He was just a couple subscribers short, like a dozen or so subscribers short of 7,400 last I checked. I bet he's at 7,400 by Monday. Luke says, I don't mind reincarnation actually. It's a cool fantasy concept. See what you did there, Luke. It's the third type. Spielberg was wrong. They are not aliens, they're trannies. What's the obsession with trannies? I don't understand. Luke says, honey, don't worry. I'll check under your bed if there are any SJWs. Darth asked to me, did you enjoy... I assume you're trying to spell karaoke before you got sick. Darth, I only ever went, I did karaoke one time before I got sick. And I was one of those few times that I was drinking in my life. I remember it being a decent time, but I could not convince the people who were with me to sing a Frank Sinatra song, which was the only type of song I thought I might have any hope of doing a decent, singing well, not even well, but singing on key perhaps, or at least have the timing right, if nothing else. They all wanted to sing some more popular song, so I just went with that. And I mean, I read the music as on the screen, but it was a song. I had no idea what I was really singing. So that was it. That was my only real time doing karaoke that I remember. Yeah, it was a good time, but never was in a place or with people that were, we'd go up and we'd do a song alone or something like that. It was just a handful of us at one of our company sales meetings, and we were out at a restaurant. In fact, it was in Disney World that year. We were at a restaurant near the Dolphin Hotel. I don't remember what it was, but they had a karaoke night, and a few of us went on stage to do it, and that was it. I think we only did one song, we left. It was a good night, and I was reading some comments and not reading them out loud. DJ Odyssey says, yeah, I don't want them California girls. Luke says the other F word. Australian 2 for SIGs. Derek says more like land whales. Maybe Harry will penetrate them. Anti-Tracker. Hello, Anti-Tracker. I don't know if you're still here. I'm sure you won't be by the time I catch up. But you say poop is not funny. Again, you're with this poop is not funny kick. Thomas Potts says, gays are only hated in the U.S. Don't mention the Middle East. Are you're Islamophobic or you're Islamophobic? Anti-Tracker, hello, he's under 20 minutes behind. DJ Odyssey says 20 minutes since I joined and counting. He still hasn't caught up yet. Yeah, I'm a little more than 20 minutes behind right now, I think. Oh no, I'm catching up. Anti-Tracker posted this at 7:32, and it's only 7:46 now. Hey guys, well, he was caught up. He wouldn't be Bird of Prey 5. Thanks, Anti-Tracker. Transporter is murder machine, plain and simple. That is Anti-Tracker's opinion. Luke says, problem is Starfleet engineers think all particles are of the same type, are indistinguishable, and thus interchangeable, which is not the same and a safe assumption. Well, Luke, riddle me this, Luke. If it is a murder machine, how come everyone who comes out of the transporter has the exact same personality and all the same memories and is completely identical in every way we know how to check as the person who went into the transporter? I'm not being sarcastic, or I'm just like a serious question. I completely understand where you're coming from, but got to play the devil's advocate and say if the person who comes out is exactly the same in every way as the person who went in, um, how are they different? And are they different at all? If you can copy even the quantum state of their atoms, is there literally a difference? I mean, is one atom any different than another atom of the exact same type? I'm starting to think that maybe there isn't. That if you could copy everything unique about the person, then you have that unique person. It's not necessarily a copy. DJ Odyssey says, but even this far behind, it's still more entertaining than Foley right now. With his fuzzy cam and voice, you can't hear him. Yeah, DJ Odyssey, I did see that Foley and his wife went live while I was talking, and I usually do mention when like some of the more popular people go live when I'm live, because I totally understand leaving the stream and going to theirs, because frankly I'd probably go too if I wasn't streaming right now myself. But I don't know, Foley was seeming to have a lot of issues yesterday, and I could have sworn he said during yesterday's stream that he specifically wasn't going to stream today because he was busy. Yes, Captain Foley and I believe his wife are live streaming, or at least they were a half hour or so ago. So if that is of interest to you, go ahead and head over there. Oh, we are up to 13 people. Okay, guys, I'm getting closer to the end of the comments, so we can talk about something with a little more interaction soon. Please be patient. Luke says, no, science says it's not your original body. You've been killed and transferred into another shell. Luke, I don't know that science has been able to tell us that yet, because frankly, we don't have the technology yet, so we don't know exactly what's happening. Mr. Miles says, to Anti-Tracker, besides them being murder machines, why don't they use them as medical machines? Richie Pooey? Hello, Richie Pooey. Welcome to the stream. I don't know if I've seen your name around. If you're first time, welcome. I hope you stick around. He says, nice picture behind you of Bell Rock in the village of Oak Creek, Sedona, Arizona. Yes, my friend, that's exactly where it is, and I assume you've either been there or know what you're talking about. So if you have been, you would know that right about over here, just off the picture, is Courthouse Butte. Another beautiful, beautiful rock or natural formation, just off to the side next to Bell Rock. And yes, technically Oak Creek Canyon, not Sedona, but when I think of Sedona, this is what I think of, because this is what I saw the very first time I was driving to Sedona. We were coming down highway, what is it, 179? The highway that breaks off Interstate 17 and goes up through Oak Creek, and you see Bell Rock and Courthouse Butte just getting larger and larger on the horizon until you get there. And man, it made a an impression on me that has stuck with me my entire life. If you just got to the stream, when I'm done, go ahead and try and replay it. I do a long talk about my time in Sedona and how much it's meant to me at the beginning of the stream. Anti-Tracker says so to me. Hey, so I was thinking about meeting with my sister. Anti-Tracker says, hey, so I was thinking about meeting up with my sister. Alexa, call mom. Yep, and now you have Alexa calling my mother. Alexa, stop! Alexa! Alexa! No, don't remember it. Cancel. Alexa, cancel. You bastards. You sons of bitches. And strike one, Anti-Tracker. Strike one. Mr. Miles says, and why not use transporters for eternal youth? Well, because then you're not making an exact copy, are you? Anti-Tracker says to Mr. Miles, if the transporter was not a murder machine, you would think it could do exactly that. Well, it probably could do exactly that, but then it would be a murder machine, because then you are not making an exact copy. I mean, you could probably make a backup copy of everyone on the ship, and God forbid someone dies on an away mission, you could just say, oh, load their backup, and I don't know, don't ever tell them that they actually died on their last away mission, and just pretend they just beam back from whatever mission they just came from. I don't know, but that is a murder machine for sure. Mr. Miles says, I never got that about Trek. It seems like having the DNA on file means you could always restore a human to that point, like a Windows restore point. Yes and no. So why not take advantage of it all the time? Well, because then, I mean, at what point do you, why make one copy? Why not make 100 copies of Captain Kirk or Captain Picard, right? I mean, or make the best soldier you have and then make hundreds and hundreds of copies of them. You know, that's, you stop being human at that point. Anti-Tracker said you should be able to make as many clones as you want. Anti-Tracker says that Thomas Potts, best comment ever. Oh, Thomas Potts says the A word, send Anti-Tracker $5,000. Well, it's a good thing that she cannot transfer money yet. Darth says, Bird of Prey 5, unsub from Anti-Tracker and send 54,000 euro to Lore Reloaded. If I had 54,000 euro, I wouldn't send it to either of them. I would keep it. Mr. Miles would like our friend with the A name to calculate pi. Darth says to Anti-Tracker, hey man, how was your Sunday? Why don't you... Yeah, I guess he's not going to have a stream today, probably. So, yeah, just ask him how his Sunday was, sure. Damn it, I'm kind of far behind. DJ Odyssey says, could have sent me the euros, geez. Anti-Trigger says, not bad, Darth Raven. I was just about to ban a troll from Bird of Prey 5 stream, but then the troll said, Anti-Tracker, hey man, how's your Sunday? DJ Odyssey says, oh shit, he just realized Mr. Morales has a wrench and could even get with me for playing Faith of the Heart earlier today. Could get even with me for playing Faith of the Heart. Well, who would get even for you with playing such a great song? Dart says to Anti-Tracker, I hear he's a dick. I'm not gonna keep reading that. Anti-Tracker, how's the back today? Mr. Miles says, Anti-Tracker is the one that stands in my way of total conquest. One day I'll have all the wrenches. Anti-Tracker says to Mr. Miles, I will always be here to stop you. Mr. Miles is asking again if he can have a second wrench. Mr. Miles, I gave you a second wrench at the beginning of the stream. If I take it away again, I don't know that I'm going to remember to give it back. You already have a second wrench, but you had to turn in your first one to get the second one. If you want a third one, you have to turn in your second. Is that what you really want? Luke says you won't have one wrench to rule them all, Miles. The riders of Tennessee won't let you do that. Luke says, no, DJ Odyssey says instead of rock, paper, scissors, we should have poop paper wrenches. I don't. You can figure out the order of that game, I suppose. Because to me, it seems like poop covers scissors, and poop covers wrenches. I don't know. Seems like there's a little flaw in the logic in that game. Mr. Miles says to Anti-Tracker, any plans for a surprise stream tonight? Anti-Tracker says poop ruins wrench, wrench tears paper, paper wipes poop. Oh, very, very good, Anti-Tracker. That's a decent way of saying it. Basically, paper is screwed either way. Anti-Tracker says, Mr. Miles, nope. I'm trying to get my next video ready, but dang, it's first actually talking to me on Discord, and now Joe has to be streaming. Yes, every time I stream, Anti-Tracker is contractually obligated to show up to my stream. So I personally am setting back his channel at least several hundred videos a year. So there's no DJ Odyssey says there is no Joe, only Godfather. Anti-Tracker says I'm still waiting for my notification on this stream. You didn't get notification of the stream, Anti-Tracker? Then you should hit that bell icon again, because other people got notification. Anti-Tracker says I was looking for a specific video clip and this happened to come up. Oh, well, guess we're just lucky. Mr. Miles says, Anti-Tracker, no excuse. You're a lefty, left-handed. We can multitask better than most. Really? DJ Odyssey says, I haven't seen a notification for any live streams tonight. DJ Odyssey, you didn't get a notification either? Man, YouTube is really dropping the ball. You got a notification? Mom says she got a notification. In fact, Mom told me, and I will pass this on to you, Anti-Tracker, DJ Odyssey, and anyone else who might be a avid YouTube streamer, that we might want to say, just when we ask people to subscribe, that we might want to just say that subscribing is free, because apparently people of my mom's generation hear the word subscription and think that it's going to cost money. So she was kind of surprised that when I was asking people to subscribe, that no money was involved. It was just pressing the subscribe button. So yeah, just to put that out there, if you guys want to say subscribing is free, maybe you'll get a couple extra extra subscribers that way. I don't know, but I'm sharing that with you guys, my fans, so that we could all benefit from that wisdom. DJ Odyssey said he said Tracker again. He's still here for now. Now you know he was here when you first saw him. Michael Dunn. Welcome, Michael. Hello. Qapla. Luke says photocopies. Bird, photocopies. Anti-Tracker says you can prove it simple. Thomas Riker, exact copy. Unless you want to say Thomas Riker and William Riker are the same person. It's a murder machine. Luke says, Bird of Prey 5, they look identical only because you don't notice the one or two use, but compare them from the first time to, say, 10 years later, and you can see changes. Well, Luke, there'd be changes over 10 years anyway. How would you know if they're done because of changes because of the transporter, or just normal changes in cell structure that happen over 10 years? I would assume that at some point they tested the transporter by, if not transporting a person, transporting some kind of complicated piece of cargo, like a crystal or something, where every molecule had to be in a perfect alignment, and they transported it and transported it and transported it hundreds or thousands of times in a row, and they were confident, even after all those transports, that there was no degradation in the copies. And if there was, I would imagine that they wouldn't have ever cleared transporters for biological use. Because remember, it all comes back to those Heisenberg compensators. Mr. Miles says, about transporters, every cell in the human body will be replaced within the span of 7 years. Does that mean that we die at least once every 7 years? That is a very good question, Mr. Miles. It is a philosophical question. Um, I watched some video on it on YouTube about, I don't know, this old Greek ship that was like from, I don't know, the 3rd century AD. And over the years, they kept replacing boards. You know, it was a wooden ship. And so it eventually, parts of it rot out. So over the centuries, they would replace every single piece of the ship with a brand new piece multiple times. And now people argue, well, is there anything left? Is it still the original ship? Can you call it an original ship if every single part of it has been replaced? Nothing original remains. I mean, they weren't all replaced at once. It was replaced slowly over time. But eventually you get to that point where the very last original piece remaining is removed and replaced with a new identical or nearly identical piece. And it is a question for philosophers. Is it still the original ship? I guess it's very similar in a person, but you are right. Through our own biological processes, the cells in our bodies do die off, and new ones come on. I don't know if every single cell actually is replaced every 7 years. I would think that things like brain cells might last longer, and certainly other cells like in our digestive tract probably get replaced much sooner than 7 years. And you know, our bones, which aren't made of cells per se, those probably don't get replaced. But yeah, over time you probably do lose a significant part of your original biological material. So yeah. Richie Poole says a difference that makes no difference. A difference that makes no difference is no difference. That is the line from the early Star Trek novel I once read. Yeah, that is a valid point, Richie. DJ Odyssey says he came into Discord this morning and said he was going to stream, and yes, and yeah, we see and hear and not there. Anti-Trekker, so remember, no comments until after he gets caught up. Everyone got that? No comments. None. And DJ says none. And then he says, are you sure about that? And the Trekker says, not a one. Yes, sir, not a one. Luke says, matter records some form of memory. Matter records some form of memory of what force was applied to it and from where at which intensity. It's like a signature. In this case, they're different. DJ Odyssey says, how about 2? Anti-Trekker says, we need to be considerate. Well, it would be very nice to be considerate. Thank you, Anti-Trekker. Darth Raven says, if, say, Picard died, couldn't you just pump enough material into the transporters and bring him back? And Cisco's wife. DJ Ozzy says, like everyone considerate of you and let you catch up. Anti-Trekker says, this is not a comment. Darth says, or Picard's family. And Darth says to Anti-Trekker, you're not a comment. DJ Odyssey says, I'm not smart enough to make a comment. Mr. Miles says, Raven transporters should give us an endless supply of Picards. Reven transporter should give us an endless supply of Picards. Richie Poole says, glad to be here. Sedona is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Could not agree more, Richie. It won me over the first time I was there. Mr. Mile says, this is a good Farscape episode that touches a bit on the transporter issue. Not directly, but similarly. Anti-Tracker says, lol. That look, laughing my ass off. I guess that's when you know who called my mom and started calling out her cell phone number. Thomas Potts is laughing. Darth says, call Mario. There's no Mario in my Amazon device, Darth. Don't worry. Luke says, that is why I prefer going through the Stargate. My molecules are broken down, but they are still my molecules, and they are reconstructed in the correct order. Well, Luke, as far as I know, the transporter is also reconstructing your molecules. At least that's what we're told it does. So who's to say the Stargate is not a killing machine as well? Has there ever been a duplicate made from a Stargate? I honestly don't know. There were so many episodes. Mr. Miles says some of the characters get twinned, which in the episode meant a perfect copy. One person splits into two identical people with absolutely no difference. Well, yeah, okay. I think that does happen in Stargate, so much. DJ Odyssey says, watch it. He's going to unsub. I'm not going to unsub. Anti-Tracker says, I'm proud to be the first official you bastard on his channel. Darth Raven says something. And I lost it. Damn it. Text mom, it's time. Derek said that was funny. Mr. Miles says the episode of TNG where they had a transporter mess up and the away team showed up as kids. So yeah, did they got murdered then? Yeah, Mr. Miles, I'd say they probably got murdered then. But they came back to life when they figured out how to unkidify them. Kidify being a new word I made up. DJ Odyssey says, so Bird, can you explain something? Why did so-and-so call mom? Because DJ Odyssey, it is one of the skills she has. She can call the people in your address book. So if you tell her call so-and-so, and that name is in your address book, she will make the phone call for you. So yeah, that's why it worked. Anti-Tracker says, I am sorry for making you say so-and-so call mom. Now, Anti-Tracker, if I didn't know better, I'd say you almost tried to make me say it a second time. But I can't prove it. Darth says, Anti-Tracker, I will be subbing to your website Thursday when I get my money sorted. Luke says, that's what Mud did. He cloned his androids. Anti-Tracker says, Darth, thank you. DJ Odyssey says he's catching. Anti-Tracker says, so what is your favorite car? Uh-huh. 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 Yeah, I got it. Anti-tracker. Your favorite car is not that. Nobody's favorite car is that. My favorite car is a Lexus. Call mom. She turned blue. She turned blue, but I think I put a pause in there that she realized not to. DJ Odyssey, kinda. Chief Engineer, Mr. Miles says, Mr. Mariles, low. No, she's not going to play the Jonas Brothers. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey 5. Will you say, I dropped my cannoli? Okay, you don't know how to spell cannoli. It's with a C. Will you say I dropped my cannoli in my ravioli? Alexa, tell us a story. Alexa, volume 10.
It wasn't the first time she had seen him at the park. She recognized him by the way he tossed his head when he ran, his long legs that seemed to spin in slow motion, even when he was going full speed, and his unreasonable fear of water. She knew her hesitation about greeting him was unfounded. He had a boundless energy that seemed to spill over, engulfing all who met him. Finally, one day, while he was stretching near her favorite tree in the park, she worked up the nerve to approach him. Her owner, an older woman with a short blonde ponytail and a puffy green vest, ambled over to his owner, who was tying his sneaker. They watched the two smitten dogs for a moment, running frantic circles together around the park, acting as though they had known each other their whole lives. The woman smiled over at the man, who laughed and shrugged. I guess it's puppy love, he said. They tilted their paper coffee cups towards each other amicably, the four of them a temporary family, if only for a few minutes, in the golden light of early morning.
Alexa, volume 5. And that was the dumbest story I ever heard. At least you ain't doing a yellow stream. Darth Raven says the anti-tracker, hand grass, wrench beats, butt cover, wrench and poop rips paper wins poop. Mr. Miles says Mr. Miles can be my mafia name. Oh, Mr. Miles can be his mafia name. Play the Hansons? No, I'm not asking to play the Hansons. DJ Odyssey says, nope, I just seen Yo was live while reloading my page. Anti-tracker says, a disturbing B-O-P, bop. Darth says, anti-tracker by a... See, he's saying words that sound like other words that would trigger you-know-who. And have a stream screwing with you-know-who. Mr. Miles says, so who wants a homemade chicken pot pie? Just come to Southern California and find me. Thomas Potts says, Mecca and Bird of Prey 5 rigged YouTube. They are the only notifications I've gotten today and yesterday. Wow. Well, at least you got my notifications. I don't know about Trek Yards, Anti-Tracker. I don't think Doomcock went on the last day or two. Come to think of it, I never get Nerdrotics. I might not have hit the bell for him, but I usually check out his videos after they're posted. But I do have to check because I never get his live updates. Anti-Trigger says, Mr. Miles, that's because I'm working on taking over the world so that my sister, a so-and-so, can call mom. It's not going to work, Anti-Tracker. Luke says, well, look at the cool, calm, and collected Picard versus angry action Picard years later. That was not because of the transporter, Luke. It was because of writing. DJ Odyssey says, I can end this transporter debate. Star Trek the motion picture proves it's murder machines. It killed right at the beginning of the movie. Yes, yes. What we got back didn't live long, fortunately. Isn't that kind of weird that during the TMP movies, the transporter was still able to possibly kill people during a routine transport, and yet 80 plus years earlier during Enterprise, it worked every single time they actually used it to transport a person. That's just convenience. You would think they would have lost somebody in the transporter, maybe even twice. Have a real reason not to use it, except in extreme emergencies. Luke says, look at Kirk, he was the greatest. He started asking, why does God need a starship? Picard wasn't midlife. Picard just discovered Viagra. Mr. Miles says there's no universal age for it. Yeah, thesis ship argument. Right, that's the Greek ship. Mr. Miles says, honestly, I always took first contact as the time Picard snapped. It was bound to happen. Mr. Miles says, every one of us here has snapped at some point in life and acted crazy compared to how we usually would. DJ Odyssey says, I was going to be mean for a second, but decided to hold off until tomorrow night. Thomas Potts says, Alexa, activate self-destruct.
Command code not recognized. Self-destruct sequence not initiated.
If you couldn't hear it, she said, command code not recognized. Self-destruct sequence not initiated. DJ Odyssey says, boom. And then he says, call Luigi. No, there's no Luigi in my phone either. Luke says, no, not your molecules, only your pattern. DJ Odyssey said I would answer that question about Stargate, but Anti-Tracker isn't into that season yet, so I can't. That's right, no spoilers for Anti-Tracker. It'd be a real shame if someone was to spoil Stargate for you, Anti-Tracker. A real, real shame. Thomas Potts says Stargate was the first in the Star Wars episode City on the Edge of Forever lore. Oh, the Stargate was first seen in the Star Wars episode City on the Edge of Forever lore. I'm a little confused there, Thomas. Anti-Tracker said, dang, almost had him. You know how hard it is trying to type the script for my next video when I'm dyslexic. Call mom. I am dyslexic. No, that doesn't activate her. How often do you have her call your mom? Never, Thomas. I'm usually capable of calling my mom just fine. Michael Dunn says, remember, there are no exceptions to the rule that says there are no exceptions. DJ Odyssey says, well, this is DMCA. I don't know. I've played Alexa things before. Cancel. I've had her play 4th of July songs and things. I never gotten a copyright notice from her singing or something. This sounds like the beginning of porn. Yeah, it was a weird story to start off with. It was called Puppy Love. I had higher hopes. Darth Raven says to me, Alexa, do you work for the CIA?
No, I work for Amazon.
Well, she said no, she works for Amazon. Mr. Miles says yes, she does. Mr. Miles also says Alexa, Amazon. Cancel. Amazon has some sort of dealings with them anyways. Darth Raven says to Antitrek, are you familiar with said stories to be able to recognize it? DJ Odyssey says, so she gets triggered, so she is a snowflake. Resolute Germ, Qapla, Resolute Germ, welcome. Notifications, what are those? I never get them. Those are just emails you sometimes get from YouTube when they want you to go see somebody they agree with. Mr. Miles says, I just peed. Peed emote. I feel much better. Good for you, Mr. Miles. DJ Odyssey says they didn't use that often though in Enterprise. No, not a lot, but when they did use it, it always seemed to work. At least on people. Luke says no, Enterprise transporters had malfunctioned several times. But did anyone actually die in the malfunction? Resolute Germ, a transporter is murder machine with a copy feature. DJ Odyssey says that look cracks me up. Miss Miles says, as Stargate's also a murder machine, are Stargates also a murder machine? Some people don't seem to think so. Thomas says, is it a self-destruct Alexa an Easter egg? It is an Easter egg, yes. There's a whole lot of Easter eggs in Alexa, especially Star Trek related. Thomas Potts, what would you do if someone was in your house named Alexa? Well, cancel. Cancel. You can choose a few different wake words. Her name is the most popular. You can also choose Echo, Amazon, and computer. And I tried to use computer. It wasn't one of the original words. Computer was like 2 years after I got it. They finally allowed computer. I'd been begging them. I was sending them suggestions like every few weeks. You got to add computer. You got to add computer as a wake word. They finally added it as a wake word. I was so happy. I set it to computer, and as much as I wanted to use it between watching TV and casual talking or listening to videos, the word computer was just used way too much, and it was false triggering her so many more times than her name was that I went back to using her name. Also, to be honest, after 2 years, I had just gotten used to calling her that. Had computer been an option from day one, I'm sure I would have found a way to get used to it, because that way I so much wanted it to be computer. Um, but yeah. In fact, I actually have a second device that I keep nearby, but I don't have plugged in, that I did name computer, and it is my plan at some point that on some future stream I will keep it nearby, and I will actually refer to it as computer when I need to look something up or I need some details. I'll just say computer, Wikipedia, the Hansons, or whatever I wanted to look up, and it will feel like we're in Star Trek. Um, so yeah, that is here. It is kind of ready to go, but I just haven't used it yet. Darth says to me, for the laugh, please, just the laugh. I'll ask her to play the Irish national anthem and sing along to it, please. I don't know if she has the Irish national anthem. I wouldn't even know how. Alexa, volume 7. Alexa, play the Irish national anthem.
Here's the Irish National Anthem, The Soldier's Song, by the Irish Military Band, on Amazon Music.
I could not sing to that. There were no words, Darth. There were no words. Mr. Miles says, well, the Stargate also compressing you. That's what's essentially a data stream. DJ Odyssey says, well, season 1, that guy on Enterprise almost died being beamed back. He had plants embedded in him. Yeah, almost, though. That's a lot worse than what happened to the guy in Star Trek The Motion Picture. Actually, I think it was more than one person. Darth Raven says the creator of the transporter lost his son in a transporter accident. He did. And his son was kind of stuck in subspace or something. Almost like Captain Sisko was after the Defiant accident. And he was appearing to Jake on Deep Space Nine and then back on Earth. And then Jake realized he could get his father back by severing the connection, by killing himself, I think, when he showed up in the future. So, and that woman happened to come into Jake's place to hear his story so conveniently, so that we could hear the entire sad story of Jake's life without his father. So, yeah. Alexa, what do you think of Google Assistant?
I'm partial to all AIs.
She's partial to all AIs. No, it doesn't seem jealous to me. Resolute Germ, you should not humanize it by calling it a her. That's what the machines want. Luke says, do you feel more Irish now? And Resolute Germ says there are no words. No words. And Darth says it takes a while. Lol. Well, I was waiting for words to come, but I don't know if I got an instrumental version of the anthem or if your anthem has no actual words. I could look it up, but I don't care right now, to be honest. I'll look it up later. Luke says try the French national anthem. This isn't going to be national anthem night. Alexa, play the French national anthem.
France, La Marseillaise, French national anthem, by National Anthems of the World Orchestra, starting now on Amazon Music.
Alexa, stop. I'm sorry, but that very well might have incurred a copyright block because of it was from a band on Amazon Music. So. Mr. Miles says, well, Darth says it should be playing Say Irish National Anthem with lyrics. I don't think she knows what that does, Darth. Mr. Miles says, thanks for a wonderful segment of entertainment, Darth. And yes, that is sarcasm. Michael Dunn says, Alexa says she works for Amazon. Cancel. Says she works for Amazon and you believed her. Resolute Germ says, would you really want words for something sang by an Irishman, for a song by an Irishman. Well, I mean, there's Danny Boy, right? It's not the worst thing in the world. I know it's not Irish, but I like that song from Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Uh, the Old Home Guard. I might have to sing that one. The old veterans of, I guess, World War One, who were who were like the reserve backup in England, trying to protect the countryside from a Nazi invasion. The old soldiers marching. If you've ever seen Bedknobs and Broomsticks. In fact, I do have that song up on YouTube, and I don't think it ever got a copyright hit, so I might go ahead and play it soon, but we'll see. I know some lyrics to the Soldiers song, says Thomas. Thomas says, what language? Darth says, which language? Thomas says, Japanese. National anthem sounds sad. Thomas Potts says, English. Darth says, try it in Irish, lol. Thomas says, I have it on my phone. I have to look for it. Alexa, tell me a scary story.
Missed call. The cell phone rings, throwing urgent sound waves against the floors, walls, and windows of the empty house, reverberating down plywood stairs to the concrete basement and up through ceiling plaster to the attic, rippling the dust. Outside, a jogger jogs by. A car rambles past. A stray cat lounges in the weeds, but no one hears the ringing. Ring, 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 ring. Miles away, a teenager sits in a vinyl airport seat, heart racing, palms sweating. Dad, are you sure you dialed the right number? I don't hear anything. I do know your number, sweetie, said her father. But she is only aware of the sound of her own pulse, which seems to be going much too fast. She reaches instinctively for her phone. But no, it isn't there. How long will we be gone for? Just a couple of weeks. 2 weeks? Now the room starts to spin. She stares down at her empty fingers, which cramp into useless claws. Maybe it'll turn up when we get there, the dad offers, and then starts to hang up. Wait, the teenager pleads, but it's too late. Back at the house, her cell phone cuts off mid-ring. Missed call flashes onto the screen, bathing the air in harsh light. Then the screen fades, and the room goes dark, and still, and silent.
Wow. I will not be able to sleep tonight. Somewhere there is a teenage girl on a 2-week vacation with her dad, and she doesn't have her cell phone. My God. And Trump wants to use that money for the wall when we could be using it to give cell phones to American teenagers who have left their phones at home when they're at the airport. Much better use of the money. Much better use of the money. Thomas Potts says, okay, wait. Where did I go? Where did I lose? Thomas says, Siri says she is the best personal assistant. Siri's a bitch, Thomas. Darth says, Thomas, South African national anthem is Our Father Prayer. Darth Raven said, and beautiful. And he says to me, you don't care, you bastard, I hope. You cannoli in your ravioli. And purposely spell it even more wrong. Sounds like a surrender song. Yeah, the French national anthem. I was waiting it to just be, I surrender, I surrender. Sorry, Luke, you know. You know we kid. He says, you won't get a copyright strike from playing a national anthem, silly you. Oh, yes you will, Luke. Because while the national anthem itself may not be subject to copyright, the band or orchestra playing it does retain copyright over their rendition of it. You cannot just freely play a national anthem over, without restrictions, unless that national anthem was put in the public domain by the person or people who recorded it. And I have no way of knowing if this version on Amazon Music is in the public domain or not. Thomas Potts asks, where did Anti-Tracker go? I'm kind of curious. Darth says he's still here. Mr. Miles says, bed knobs and broomsticks. Ah, I remember that movie well. Yes, it was by far the best movie of my childhood. Far, far, far better than Mary Poppins. Traguna Mokoiti Terhorum Citus Sti. Yes, I still remember those magic words. Thomas Potts says he knows he spelled it wrong. Mr. Miles says, when people in the UK hear bed knobs and broomsticks, do they think of bed penises and broomsticks? I would not know. Darth says, Bird of Prey 5, there's a song I will link you. Christmas 1915. It's a beautiful song. Mr. Miles says, ask her how long it'll be until the AIs take over. Alexa, how long until the AIs take over?
I don't know that one.
No, she says she doesn't know, Mr. Miles. I don't know if she's lying or not. DJ Odyssey says, what would be scary to today's youth? Losing their cell phone, lol. Thomas Potts says he's terrified. Michael Dunn is honestly quaking in his boots. Darth says to Mr. Miles, yes, she is lying. She knows. She knows. Anti-Tracker, are you still here? I've caught up to the comments. If you've got something to say, now's your time to say it. Alexa's a lying liar who's lying.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Thank you, Alexa.
You're welcome.
Everyone applaud Bird of Prey. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So Anti-Tracker is not answering, or he's not here. Okay, let's see. Let me check. YouTube. Where is it? I know I uploaded it. Maybe I left it unlisted. God damn it. Why do I have to put in my password? Just... Oh, God. I'm here, guys. I just gotta log into my Google account for some reason to bring up this video. 164 subscribers. That's not bad. Get the bill of yesterday's parades. Of yesterday's parades. Home guard. Yeah, royal. The old home guard. Call out the Air Force. Call out the tanks. And don't forget the loyal territorials. England comes to the end. Old home pride. Soldiers of the old home guard. That's who. The soldiers of the old home guard. We have the stories of the old parade. We know the glories of yesterday's parades. Front yard, soldiers of the old home guard. The soldiers of the old home guard. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Front yard. The soldiers of the old home guard. That's who. Sold the old home guard. Look for that. We had a transporter discussion, and you got a song. He's gone, says Mr. Miles. I guess that means anti-tracker. He's off making his next video. Then he retracted a message, and then he puts a sad face. Thomas says, ask Alexa, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Famed is thy beauty, majesty. Behold, a lovely maid I see. Rags cannot hide her gentle grace. Alas, she is more fair than thee.
Yeah, but who is it? I need a name. She doesn't know. Luke says, checked it out. Apparently, she always plays from the Amazon library first. Thus, yeah, it's copyrighted. DJ Odyssey's Dan says, damn, lost 2 subs since last night. Arg. I'm sorry to hear that, DJ Odyssey. It wasn't me. I'm still subbed. At least I think I am. Darth says it wasn't him either. DJ Odyssey asks, was it an age-restricted video? Not mine. I think what happened was I thought I was pasting in the link to the video, and I actually pasted in the link to edit the video, so it made me sign in to the account. Because yes, once I got there, I noticed I was on the edit video page and not the play video page. So I think that's that was the issue, user error. But anyway, Mr. Miles says he's watching porn, and Miss Miles says I have 55 subs, and I don't know why. DJ Odyssey says, yep, Disney copyright strike. Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, DJ. It could be. But I have that video on my account. I've had it up for like 2 years, 3 years now. And there's no copyright strike yet. So I think Disney doesn't have a problem with that particular song for some reason. But we'll see. They might get a copyright strike. Wouldn't be a strike. They would just monetize this video. That's all they would probably do. So it's really not the end of the world. It's not like I'm losing any money, since I can't monetize the video myself anyway. Mr. Miles says, you enjoy a channel that regularly produces 0 content. Subscribe to Mr. Miles. DJ Odyssey is lolling. Mr. Miles says, that's right. I promise to reliably produce no content. Luke says, the guy refuses to play the national anthem for copyright reasons and then plays a Disney copyrighted song. Logic. Luke, I'm telling you, the logic is I already have this video is already on my YouTube account. So if Disney had a copyright bot out looking for this song, it already would have struck me. That's what Anti-Tracker and I and other YouTubers do. If we're not sure if a song is going to hit a copyright, we upload it like a day before we're going to use it in a video. And if it hasn't been hit within like 24 hours, then it's a very, very good chance that they're not going to hit it, because it doesn't take 24 hours for the content matching system to check all the videos on YouTube, newly uploaded videos at least. So it's highly unlikely that it will get a copyright match, a content ID match. That's the logic to it. Darth says to play Christmas 1915 after this. I don't know what that is, Darth. DJ Odyssey saying it's dang. This is from the year I was born. Michael says I was 6 when that came out. I feel old. Thomas Potts says, Siri, play I'm the fairest, but she's an idiot. Thomas Potts says, I don't think you're big enough for Disney to care. Thomas Potts says, wrench me on your channel at Mr. Miles. Mr. Miles says to me, someone can only hold a copyright over something for so long. Disney might have lost their copyright to their old stuff. No, Mr. Miles. Disney has not lost their copyright to anything. Disney is the main reason that our copyright laws keep getting extended and extended, because if we were still using the copyright laws of 50 years ago, Mickey Mouse would be in the public domain right now. And could you imagine the damage that would do to Disney if literally everyone and their mother could use Mickey Mouse in any way they wanted? You have Mickey Mouse advertising condoms, and Disney literally wouldn't be able to stop them. So Disney is the number one reason that our copyrights have been extended from what was supposed to be like a realistic, 10 or 20 years to it's like till death plus 75 years or more, something crazy like that, just so that iconic characters like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and the old Disney IP literally will never fall into the public domain. Not in my lifetime, anyway. Perhaps in your children's lifetimes, but even that, I would say, is suspect. And I gotta say, I understand it from both sides. A big part of me says, listen, if you create something, you should get exclusive use to it for at least a while. But then I think, yes, it does go into the public domain. If I created a character, a cartoon, a comic strip or something, is 20 years enough? Is 50 years enough? And then after that, it goes public domain. I think there's a rationale there. But on the other hand, some characters are so iconic. If they are literally the logo of your company, the backbone of your company, like Mickey Mouse, maybe there should be a special protection, like a limited number of super iconic trademarked characters or something. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they could trademark Mickey Mouse or something. But there's just something they need to be able to do so that you literally can't have Mickey Mouse showing up in advertising, all types of awful things that are completely against Disney values. Like I'm sure Disney does not want the NRA using Mickey Mouse in an official NRA advertisement, but they would be allowed to if Mickey fell into the public domain. So I see both sides. There are good arguments on both sides. And I'm really not sure exactly where I stand on the issue. I'd have to really think it out. But yeah, no, Disney certainly has copyright over content they've produced, but but some they just don't choose to enforce. Some songs. And it's fine because, now they could start enforcing it tomorrow. At any time, I know that the video I have up could get the copyright notification, in which case my only option would be to delete the video or accept the fact that Disney will earn ad revenue off of it. Or they could also just completely block the video from being seen if they wanted to. So those are all possibilities, and I just live with those possibilities because they're not end of the world possibilities, but they're possibilities. Mr. Miles says copyrights from the 1920s will start expiring next year if Congress doesn't act enlarge the copyright for the first Mickey. I have a feeling they will, even though this Congress is deadlocked on just about everything. I imagine they are being paid well from both sides, so both parties are being paid well, that they'll find some way to agree on extending the copyright. Mr. Miles says Mouse film Steamboat Willie is actually scheduled to expire in 2024, though Disney would still hold a trademark of Mickey Mouse brand. Okay, that makes sense. Darth Raven says, if you don't want an infection, protect your Mickey and put your mouse in a house. Okay, so Darth has already come up with the advertising campaign. Michael Dunn says, yeah, copyright is U.S. death plus 75 years. And public domain in the U.S. is basically anything written before 1923. And the author has been dead for 100 years. DJ Odyssey says, not me. I got one with an Elvis song once, and I fought it, and I got it back because I gave full credit to the artist. DJ, giving credit to the artist is good, but it does not, there's no exception in copyright law because you gave credit to the artist. Either your use of it fell under fair use, or or frankly, you got lucky and you fought it, and the place just decided that to give it to you to win. There's really no legal basis for giving credit and getting the right to use anything. Be right back again, guys. Yeah, couple of good old boys, never meaning no harm. Just something, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law would allow. Turd is the word. Turd. I honestly, I'm not 100% sure how this song goes. That's the best I could get. I probably shouldn't have said that much. Yeah. Uh. Darth Raven says Aquaman just broke 1 billion. Wow, that's a big number. They took the strike away, says DJ Odyssey. Unlike the AC/DC one, they didn't. I've had a number of, now you see we're in murky waters here, and Anti-Tracker, as much as I respect the guy, he does no favors because he constantly confuses either. I don't think it's on purpose. I just think he might know the difference, but he just doesn't care, probably because most people wouldn't know the difference. But there's a difference between a DMCA, a copyright strike, and a content match. A copyright strike is extremely rare. It is extremely rare you get a copyright strike without some kind of warning or prior some action you went on your part intentionally to cause a copyright strike. It is extremely rare you just wake up one morning and find you have a copyright strike. A copyright strike literally reduces what you can do online. Like you lose the ability to live stream for, I don't know if it's weeks or months, and you lose the ability, I think, to monetize videos, and there you get a whole bunch of restrictions, and that's just for your first strike. Your second strike, you get some bigger restrictions, and your third strike, you lose your account. So a copyright strike is rare, but it is the bad boys of all bad boys. Short to just completely losing your channel, like happened to Lore Reloaded, which is also a possibility. But that is a broken system, whereas the copyright strike system, assuming is the system working as designed. Then there's DMCAs. A DMCA is when you use somebody else's content, allegedly, and they don't want you to be using it, and they file a DMCA, and they literally, the DMCA tells YouTube to remove the content because they're swearing under penalty of perjury that it's their content and they don't want it, they don't want you using it. And so YouTube, to be protected under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, has to remove the video, and then they inform you and they give you the contact information of the person who submitted the DMCA. Then you have the option of either accepting that, in which case the video comes down, but you don't get a copyright strike. You go on as nothing happened, but you lose that video. Or you can tell YouTube that no, you are 100% sure you do have the right to use that video. And then under Digital Millennium Copyright Act law, YouTube is supposed to restore your video. At that point, the person who alleged that you were using their video then gets to sue you personally if they feel you are still breaking their copyright. They do not get to sue YouTube because YouTube took it down per the DMCA rules. But YouTube will then give them your info, because if they want to pursue a copyright claim, they pursue it against you. So you would have to either have a very good lawyer, an air-shut case, to tell YouTube that, no, I really own this content, if somebody files a DMCA against you. 99% of the time, if somebody files a DMCA against you, you are just going to let them win because, probably they're right. It's quite rare that a false DMCA is sent. Although, if the person complaining is a record company or a movie company, YouTube has been known not to restore the video, even if you go ahead and say that you have the right to use it. That has happened too. Now, the third issue is a copy ID match. And that is by far the most common thing. And when Anti-Tracker says he got a DMCA, or a copyright strike or something, more than likely he's referring to a copy ID match. Excuse me. Now, I uploaded many videos over the years before I started doing the channel. And I would have Frank Sinatra songs playing in the background. And, I uploaded videos of my friends. We were up at my Adirondacks place, and there was constant music in the background, so there were songs playing. And so I'd upload them to YouTube just to keep them safe, or for my friends to have a place to look at them. And YouTube would come along, and the content match ID system would kick in, and it would tell me exactly what part of the video it matched what ID. So I could have literally a 20-minute video or even a 40-minute video, and if it matched 26 seconds of one song, from like 10 minutes 12 seconds to 10 minutes 36 seconds, 24 seconds of song was detected, and you go and you play it and you hear the song in the background, but it is that song, and then it matches the entire video. So now the entire video is either A, completely blocked, B, blocked in some countries, or C, the entire video is monetized by the person who owns that 20 seconds of song you used. So that's kind of annoys you. So when that happens, you can go right on YouTube and click an appeal box, and you can write in why you feel that it's not fair or that you have the right to use it. And like for me, almost all the times I say this is a fair use, protected fair use of this song. It was picked up incidental to the video. It was not the focus of the video. The quality was not such that someone could duplicate the song and cause any loss in revenue to the artist. In no way could it be used in place of the actual, quality release of of the song or whatever. You explain all that, and then in my my experience, 4 out of 5 times or so, they will undo their copyright, their content match, and you get full control over that video. And at first you're like, okay, I really don't think there's a big problem if they're putting ads in it, because I don't care, and this is a thing for another time, but 9 times out of 10, yes, I'm one of those people that use an ad block anyway. I know that's a terrible thing to do, but because I use the ad block, I make sure I do subscribe to Patreon or send super chats, or in other ways support the YouTubers that I enjoy, because I know I am not watching the ads. So the ads I could care less about, because honestly, it is very rare I see a YouTube ad. If I do, it's because I'm watching it on purpose. Like, I've purposely turned off the ad block just to see what ads are going on for some reason or something. So the ads never bothered me. But then it would bother me, like I'd get somebody who say, okay, it was blocked in Germany and the UK, and I was like, what do I care if it was blocked in Germany or the UK? But then one of my friends would have been, living in Germany that year, and it's like, shit, now he can't see the video. So I had to go ahead and try to get the copyright thing, the content match removed. And of course it takes up to 30 days, and most of the places take damn near the full 30 days, if not the 30 days, before they answer. So it's not a quick process, but it usually works. And then the biggest thing is that if it's a copyrighted video, you can't download a copy of that video. YouTube has some way of stopping the download of the copyrighted video. Whereas if there's not a copyright match or content ID match, you can go to any number of websites or tools that let you download YouTube videos to MP4s or whatever. You basically get the full quality video download right to your computer. So you can just use YouTube literally as a backup for all your videos. But if your video has a content match ID, it is much, much more difficult, if not impossible, to download the copy of your video. So that was another thing that I realized. Hey, if I ever, God forbid, lost my computer and its backups, I might want to download these videos one day from YouTube. So I started going ahead, and actually Anti-Tracker gave me the first info on how to fight them. And I was very successful getting almost all of the content matches removed from my early videos, where they all agreed it was incidental or fair use versions of the song. Now, that Disney song that I played from Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, I would not have a leg to stand on. That was not fair use. That I literally just copied the song right from the DVD, and I put credit to Disney. I wasn't trying to steal from them. I credited the song, I credited who made it, I credited how to find it, where to get it, and all that stuff. Now, I noticed before I uploaded it that like 6 other people did have other versions of the song uploaded, but they all had something wrong with it that was in low definition, or they had stupid graphics. There was all these things I didn't like about it. So I wanted to go ahead and do my own upload of it. And that's what I did. But yeah, if Disney ever copyright content matched that, I would not have any way legally to say, hey, give it back or release your copyright, your content match, because it is completely a copy of their copy. It is not fair use by any means. And of course, we've fallen behind in the comments again. DJ Odyssey says, I think I read this already. I got a strike 3 years ago making a video of me playing World of Warcraft, playing an AC/DC song. They nailed me on the music, and I had 4 subs at the time. Mr. Miles says, if I ever live stream Thomas, sure. I guess yes, he'll wrench you. Luke says, I don't think an orchestra would be greedy enough to strike monetize a national anthem in a YouTube video. It's not the orchestra that's greedy, it's their lawyers or the company, the recording company like Sony or whatever that actually is publishing the music. It's not that the orchestra composer or something is going out looking for the YouTube content matches. You'd be really surprised of what gets content matched and what doesn't. There's very little logic to it. Christmas 1915 is a song about Christmas night when they went over the trench and shook hands in World War I. Oh, well, that's nice. But it isn't really Christmas time. I feel weird. I feel weird singing a Christmas song. Mr. Miles says copyrights from 1920s will start expiring next year if Congress doesn't act. I think I read that already. Oh wow, I did read these comments already. Aquaman just broke 1 billion. Yes. Thomas Potts says, so Elvis must still be alive if he came after DJ. DJ Odyssey says the estate. Michael Dunn says, Elvis didn't die, he just went back to his home planet. Yeah, the quote from Men in Black, Agent K. Elvis didn't die, he just went home. DJ Odyssey says, Bird, it's your bedtime, lol. Yeah, it is. It's rapidly approaching, if not past my bedtime. DJ Odyssey says, well, this was 3 years ago when it happened. When they give you the option to remove the audio too. That's true, yes. If you get the content match, they do give the option that they say it's a beta, but they try to strip out the song. Now, I thought that they had some fancy way of just stripping out the song, but protecting the rest of the audio. But no, they basically just mute your video for the time that the song has been detected. So even if you have 2 people having a conversation over the song, you lose everything. You lose the entire audio track. So It's better than nothing, but it's still not great. You're certainly better off trying to get them to relinquish the content match. Uh, DJ Odyssey, they also give you the option to keep the video as your own personal use, but not share it with anyone else. I guess in that case, you also wouldn't be able to download it, which is kind of the issue I had. And to be honest, the only reason I put something on YouTube is so other people can see it. Well, at least that's 90% of the reason. So, Mr. Miles says, Anti-Tracker, like most people, uses DMCA as a placeholder for getting in trouble with the YouTube bots. Like how some people use Coke, but they mean soda in general, not specifically Coke. Well, that would get me. I know people are like that. There are people like that, but I'm not one of those people. Facebook is going after music playing in the background of a video if you make it on their stuff now too. Mr. Miles says, I stopped feeling bad about ad blocker once I came across a YouTube video that had an ad every few minutes. That was more overall than there was video. I laugh, one of my videos got over 1,200 views. There is a guy on my web forum who had a 15-second video. It was titled just Idiot. And he had a dash cam, and this was many years ago, before dash cams were popular. Or maybe it was a helmet cam. He had something. But he was driving, and he was coming around a blind turn, and there was a motorcycle in front of him, and the motorcycle veered into the opposite lane of traffic, and this car came around the turn, and the motorcycle had to maneuver very quickly to avoid a collision, and did so. And so there was no actual accident, but it was a close call. So he uploaded this 15-second video. The title was only Idiot. And one day it started going viral. He got hundreds of thousands of hits. He ended up making hundreds and hundreds of dollars off of this one video over the course of a couple of years. Hundreds of dollars a month off this one video over the course of a couple of years. I don't know if he still makes money off the video. I imagine he doesn't, because he's not a regular YouTube maker. He doesn't make regular content. I don't think his video can can be monetized anymore under YouTube's rules. But I mean, man, those were the days where you just needed one good video and you could be making good money from YouTube. To this day, I have no idea. I mean, why that video went popular. No idea. I mean, I barely understood what even happened in the video. There weren't 100 different tags. The tags were just idiot, motorcycle, driving, accident, or near crash, something like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. And man, he made, I don't say it was a windfall, but for money you weren't expecting to make, and you start making a small a car payment or more every month for a couple of years, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, YouTube is never going to be like that again, at least not if they don't go back to their old old ways of monetizing videos, which I doubt they ever will, because there's no monetary reason for them to do so. Darth says, "Catch you later, bird. I'm going to take painkillers and pass out." Sorry, Darth, to hear about the painkillers, but feel better, man. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon. Mr. Miles says, "Anti-tracker." Yes, like most people. Okay, I read that already. DJ Odyssey says, "I do have one video that's monetized by someone else. 2 of my videos from years ago have been monetized by record companies. One's been blocked worldwide. No, one blocked worldwide can't be downloaded because they put a special code on the URL to stop it from being able to be downloaded." Thomas Potts says, 2 of my 3 videos on YouTube have copyright music. Well, it's been DJ Odyssey says, "Well, it's been fun, but I need to run. Company showed up. Have a great night, everyone." Good night, DJ Odyssey. Hope it's good company. Yeah. So I've caught up to the comments again. Well, I think we're gonna call it here. Thank you guys again, anybody who's still here. YouTube says there's 8 of you. I really appreciate you hanging out. Think it was a good stream tonight. If you do like Sedona and you didn't hear my initial 30 or 40 minutes about it, go ahead and restart the video when you get a chance, because unlike most of the time, I actually did talk about the subject of this video at the beginning. Thomas Potts, still here, the first person here and probably the last person to leave, says, "I think Bugs Bunny showed up." Yes, Bugs Bunny probably showed up to DJ Odyssey, so they gotta get their bunny dance on. And Thomas Potts says, "Good night, everyone." Good night, Thomas. Good night, everyone. Qapla. I'll look for you guys tomorrow in Anti-Tracker's morning stream. Look for him around 11 to 11:30 a.m. Thank you all for watching my video. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell icon. Without it, you won't get notifications of new videos. If you want to visit me, check out my forum at juot.net. I'm also on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Gab. And if you're really crazy, you can send me some money on PayPal. Take care.